You know, I don't know that there was a the moment. What it's been is every day take one step forward, take one step away from this addiction.
Be Inspired podcast. Real stories from real people. Sharing stories of love and loss, struggles and perseverance, laughter and tears, and overcoming adversity.
Our guest today on Be Inspired is taking a huge step in her life, and she's opening up for the very first time about her struggles with anorexia and bulimia, and she wants to be here today to help others who are dealing with similar issues. Hi there, I'm Bert Barron.
And I'm Lisa Anderson.
And we welcome you to Be Inspired. Our guest here, apparently, witnessed some of our previous episodes, is a fan of the Be Inspired podcast, Lisa, which we always like to hear from people that what we're doing with this show is we're changing lives and we're inspiring people to the point that Tracy O Mahony, our guest, wanted to come on and sort of talk about what she's been through in her life. And we are so honored to have her with us here today.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear because we know what we get out of it. And to us, you know, hearing these stories of our guests in season 1 and season 2 and now already filming season 3, there's nothing like a human story to get us through life, adversities. And when we hear these stories, it takes tremendous courage for our guests to come on. And thank you for, like Bert said, watching the series and feeling comfortable enough to come on, because it's a very, very tough subject for you, for most people who are dealing with anorexia and bulimia.
Yeah. Tracy, when we hear about challenges and things that happen in people's lives, it all kind of goes back to the childhood, whether it was an event or a series of events that kind of led people on this journey in life. Share your story, if you would. Was it something in your childhood is where you want to begin the story?
I would say so, and perhaps it won't come out the way somebody might think. I didn't have a treacherous childhood. I had a magical childhood. I had a great life. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and Irish Catholic family, traditional family in those days. My mom stayed home and raised us. I was considerably younger than my siblings. I have an older brother. He's the oldest, and 3 sisters between, and then me. And I was the baby. I was the perpetual baby, cute one, top of the cheerleading pyramid. I was the mascot of everything. And I was also the tag-along for my sisters. And I was younger than my friends in school. So I think growing up, I always felt like somebody else would take care of me. Somebody else was going to make the rules, and the choices weren't necessarily mine. My role was to stay up, look cute, and say what people wanted me to say, and not make any problems. And one of the things that was, I guess, prevalent in the 70s and 80s was, be thinner, be prettier, wear a lot of makeup, be the perfect Barbie doll. And so suddenly, at some point at around 15, I took that and ran with it. It was something that I decided I'm going to be the best at this. Everybody's going to really wish they were. And it wasn't entirely conscious, but it was a way of harnessing control of a life that I felt like I really didn't have many choices at home or out socially.
Struggling with self-image at the time, that's what kind of led you to want to do this?
Yeah.
And years ago, when our parents, raised us, we really didn't get the attention that children today get. We were kind of just really left out there, played all day, came home, ate, did what we were supposed to do, took a shower, went to bed. That's just the way it was. Where nowadays, we worry about children's self-esteem. That was not in the 70s and 80s. That wasn't brought up. Self-esteem. We were kind of left to figure things out on our own, which in some ways are good because some kids today can't figure out the next step.
True.
But on the other hand, our thoughts, our feelings, all really we had to figure it all out And yes, it is some sort of control over you and over your life.
Right.
And what age do you think that the anorexia and bulimia started?
I would say when I was around 15, I had a troubling breakup around when I was 13. I matured very early, had relationships that probably nowadays parents would be horrified. I kept all of this to myself. So then when I started to go through my high school years, I really was floundering. School was becoming more challenging. School had always been easy enough for me. But socially, I was trying so hard to be perfect and friendly and liked. I always wanted to be liked by everyone. And you hear often, not everybody is going to like you. And, I would focus on the 3 people in the room that didn't like me, even though there were 100 in the room. And it was like going to a toothache. I would not, and I would make things worse.
Accept me.
Yeah, accept me. Please
Yeah.
love me. Please love me. And I had this bad breakup with a boy, and it wasn't a bad, violent breakup. It was just he was done with me. I wasn't good enough for him, kind of thing. And his sister had anorexia and bulimia, and she was a senior at the time in my high school. So I wanted to be like her, to get that boy to worry about me and
To
want to
notice
come
you.
back.
Yeah.
And so that just obviously exploded and didn't go well. And he, come to find out 35 years later, he was going through his own tremendous difficulties then. And I certainly harbor no resentments towards anybody. I was, raised with a lot of wonderful people and in a good environment. But so I took that and ran with it. And then another boy had invited me to the senior prom. I was only a sophomore. And I said to him, "Do you think I need to lose any weight?" And he goes, "You could stand to lose 5 or 10 pounds. And
Probably a petite little
I
thing.
took it and ran with it, yep. And it was bam. I lost that and then some, wound up getting mono, giving mono to him, so he almost couldn't go to the prom. But I very quickly sunk into my own world of starvation and terrible bulimia. So by junior and senior year in high school, I was sneaking out in the middle of the night, unbeknownst to my parents, rolling the car out of the driveway and driving to the 24-hour supermarket or the donut shops. And I lived my life like this. And I was on honor roll. I was secretary of the student council. It was a horror that I would not wish on my worst enemy
Double
today.
life. Yeah.
And then I would go to school. I at some point started, not attending school, and because I was, quote, the good girl, I could somehow make excuses out of it. But my mother was making heads and tails of this pretty fast. She had gone back to college and was majoring in psychology. So of course it was my mother that I hated the most. Because she was
on
putting
to
me
you,
on the
yeah.
line right away.
Yeah.
And to speak to that, in those days, the doctors also told her, what do you think is wrong with this girl? Leave her alone. She's fine. And so then there were obviously 35 years there. I could talk forever, but I was in and out of many rehab centers. I did take a medical withdrawal from the University of Delaware. And all of these years I was miserable, and yet I was elected friendliest in school senior year. I was always, people knew that I was thin and too thin, but I somehow could pull off a charade. And then some years later it got really so bad that I kind of was that freak of nature that people's heads turn when you're in the mall. I would be walking with my mother. She was the only one that would be seen in public with me. And their heads would turn, and I would see it. And then they would start muttering to one another. And I would be horrified. But this bulimia had me by the throat. And that's the thing. saw the anorexia.
Right.
The bulimia, the hundreds of dollars worth of food that was binged and purged on, that nobody had, all they saw and treated medically was the anorexia.
Wow. I mean, let's be honest, Tracy, and get real. People die from what you went through. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people that crossed this line and didn't come back. And for you, you're still with us here today, obviously. Did it cross your mind at all that, hey, I'm on a path that this is not going to end well for me? Does someone suffering from this think like that?
I lost a number of people that I knew from treatment centers and who lost the battle. One girl jumped out of a window in New York City, and another, her kidneys shut down. And the medical consequences that were all around me, I kept thinking, never me. There's that invincible nature. And now it took me, I'm still maturing every day. But all of those threats that are made by physicians and medical professionals, I'm here to say they mean every single one of them. They do happen. My teeth that were beautiful, I had braces, I had a gorgeous smile, my teeth are fake now. I lost all my teeth.
Wow.
I spent $60,000 of money that I worked darn hard for because I couldn't teach anymore. So I had to, home tutor and do different things to earn money. And I lost all my teeth. I have severe osteoporosis. I have, my kidneys are not great. My liver's not great. And every day I am so grateful for another chance.
You have a light about you that just the minute first of all, doesn't she have the most beautiful eyes? You do have the most beautiful eyes.
They're the only thing I haven't tried to change on
Don't
me.
ever change them.
I tried to change everything about me.
Don't try to change. You've changed inside to survive this, and you have such a light. And you said, if I can help one person today by going on, and I know friends whose children have passed from anorexia and bulimia, and I remember back when Karen Carpenter passed, it was like, oh, the whole world was shocked. We really hadn't heard of that, and everyone was like, what?
And it was a heart attack.
Yeah.
Because it happens.
Exactly. So I can imagine your mom and dad, how worried they were for you, your siblings. Yeah. But can you tell us, Tracy, what do you feel after all the therapy? And I understand they were not good places for you to be. What do you really think, besides control, is the reason for this?
Gosh, Lisa, that is a question that I have been asked dozens of times. And perhaps I can sum it up this way. There was a song, and I don't even know the whole song, but there's a line that says, "For you, girl, there's just not enough love in the world." And there was a spiritual void. There was an I'm not enough void. I need to do more. I need to be better. Everybody love me. There's just not enough. And yet, and ironically, I had put myself then in a prison of my own making.
Sure.
And I mean, I used to joke that I could be kidnapped and I would be fed and given water. Or I could, be in jail and I would be fed and given water. I could be on one of these 2020 shows locked in a cave or something. And they would treat me better than I would treat myself because I was hell-bent, on destroying what, who I consider God had made. And I can look, and I love other people, but to go that extra step and truly love myself so that my love of others is more genuine and I have more energy to give that love. if we don't free ourselves from our own bondage, how can we love another?
Very true. True. We'll come back and share some more of the inspirational story of Tracy O Mahony when Be Inspired continues.
Moving is difficult. At Lowe's, it doesn't have to be. For all of your residential and commercial moving needs, contact 732-775-4118 or get a free FaceTime estimate. Lowe's, proudly serving New Jersey for over 96 years. IgA Nephropathy Foundation of America is a patient-centric organization dedicated to finding a cure and better treatment options for IgA kidney disease. If you or someone you know was recently diagnosed or to donate, please visit IGAN.org. Buying, selling, or renting a home can be daunting, especially for first-time home buyers. Trusted since 1985, Diane Turton Realtors award-winning associates will provide the information you need about the market rate, neighborhood, local attractions, and more. Call 1-877-388-7866 or visit dianeturton.com. In this new day and age of online meetings and presentations, you need the best team at the ready. Whether broadcasting your Zoom meetings to Facebook Live or live streaming a fundraiser event, Surreal Streaming Services, with over 10 years of experience, can add confidence to your next live stream event. Call or text 646-498-8888 or visit sur-real.com.
We're with Tracy O Mahony here on this edition of Be Inspired, and she has been through a lot in her life. And Tracy, when you look at some of the things that you've overcome, anorexia, bulimia, self-doubt, struggling with self-image for such a long time, the physical toll that you've taken on your own body, that you're still dealing with the effects of that today. Even people around you had some things that happened to you that had some negative impacts on you. Was this as a result of just trying to win people's acceptance that kind of led you down this path of having some other negative interactions with people?
I would say absolutely so. In my relationships with men, I'm not married, I don't have kids. I did have several long-term boyfriends, and especially, I will say, back in high school and maybe college, the way I carried myself was everybody loved me. Just do, and so while I was never particularly promiscuous, my ability to set boundaries with anybody were not very good, and I dated my choices of boyfriends. I got lucky growing up because I lived in a nice area, and they were I've had a lot of nice males in my life. But there were a few instances where if I was heading down the road to trouble, my friends would be like, oh no, she's stuck by that one again, and oh gosh. And so I did build up, I think, a little bit of a fear and a skittishness in my relationships. Funny thing, and now is not, this gentleman isn't related to any of those instances, but I had a very good male friend that said to me when I was in high school, he had been dating me, and he said, we had broken up. He said, you're going to die, Tracy, and on your epitaph, what it's going to say is, here lies Tracy. She tried to be like Barbie. And had I listened to that then and internalized it, and instead, I just decided to get angry, be angry with him for a few weeks, and we're friends now today. But I look back and I see the miraculous lives people have lived, and the challenges they've met. My walk was different, and that's what it was. If I do not forgive myself for that walk, I will remain paralyzed by this disease. I forgive myself.
A turning point for you at some point in your life that you could share? Was it maybe a low point of your weight where you said this is not going to work, and I need to make some changes, some major changes, because my life is in the balance here?
I was terrified. There were times that I was terrified that I couldn't roll over in bed. It was exhausting. And there's a game. There's a game that you play for insurance companies. there's a game that you play to get help from the medical community. That game is bulimia doesn't count. You can be in your own living hell doing whatever you are doing to feed your addiction, but we're not going to help you. You have to have your weight below a certain weight to be admitted to any of these treatment programs, or
Below
we're
a
not
certain
going to
weight.
help you.
I
Yes.
just want to make sure I heard that
Yes.
correctly, because someone who's obviously at a life-endangering weight now,
Yeah.
to qualify for assistance,
Right.
you might even have to
Actually,
bring
yeah.
it down a little.
Even right now,
That is
I would not
unbelievable.
qualify for residential care because I would be considered a liability. The funny thing with that is there are then other numbers that have you defined to go on a medical floor versus a residential floor. So it is very much about those numbers for the insurance purposes. So you go into these treatment programs, and as great as those employees may be, they have numbers to meet. So they have to prove a certain amount of weight gain. So there were times when I was admitted where my metabolism would speed up and I would have to wake up and be fed Ensure through the night. And I would be having probably 3,000 or 4,000 calories a day because my metabolism had gone hyper.
Sure.
So they're feeding that, but then my heart begins to shut down because my heart can't keep up with the new digestive activity. So many, I would say most eating disorder patients that are receiving treatment know this game, and the dollars aren't spent. They're not there.
Tracy, for any young woman or middle-aged woman, or not sure if it's prevalent in males, watching this, what can you tell them about the moment when you decided that no more, I'm going to have to take all my energy and I have to get strong and start to heal?
You know, I don't know that there was a the moment. What it's been is every day take one step forward, take one step away from this addiction. So, for example, because for me, I couldn't let go of all of it at once. At some point, I was in Princeton, and that's 2014, and that's when I stopped. Because the protocols there are so strict, and I had 2 fractured heels, so I couldn't run behind the shower in the bath off camera and try and exercise everything out. I mean, the tricks are endless, and most places are savvy to them now. But it was a day at a time, kind of the 12-step mentality, which is, just take it a day at a time. And there has been an evolution. I recently shared with a friend of mine, and now everybody knows, I was a gum chewer for 35 years. Gum chewing is an anorexic's friend because it gives you, a bulimic, whatever, you're constantly feeding that oral fixation and stuffing whatever's there. Because of these dental implants, I learned I was destroying them. And I knew that 5 years ago. However, 4 weeks ago, I stopped. And I'm telling you something, I have never been so emotional. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Something's missing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now we have some real world problems. And I'll sit around in here and whine about not having a piece of gum, but that's addiction.
To you, it's huge. Exactly.
To me, it's huge.
Yeah.
And how funny. I'm approaching 50, and I have a wonderful life. I am so grateful for a second chance at life. I am. I love my life today. I live in a studio apartment. I don't have anything grand, but I have myself. I know who I am. I can trust me to take care of me. There can be a pint of ice cream in my refrigerator. It's not my enemy. I can choose to eat it or not.
That's huge.
But I used to never have that strength of, Tracy, honey, I will take care of you.
And that's the greatest gift right there.
Yeah.
And the Tracy that's with us today, teaching now is your
I
profession?
I
Is that an
never
inspiring
went back to full-time
thing? Okay.
teaching, but I have tutored privately over the years, which is what I do, and I'm able to use my education. That has also allowed me to go into families and homes and witness that life isn't easy. You get through, you show up for your children, you show up for people, and you work with others. And it enables me to continue teaching, and the kids give me so much more than I them. Many of my employers have been mentors. I've had a lot of strong female role models, which have been wonderful for me.
You attract them.
I really, I can't, my previous employers, my current employer is an oncologist, so I look at people and I marvel at how much, and now I think I am at a turning point. I want to, if I can help others, I will. And I don't have to wait until I feel I've arrived. I take a phone call, just pick up the phone. It's a very isolating and selfish disease.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about the divide that we have today where parents live in one world and kids live in this digital world where they're always with phones and connected electronically to people. I mean, there's help out there for people that are going through exactly what you did. It's kind of about overcoming stigma and getting help sooner than later. I guess that's the message and the lesson that we want to leave people with today, right?
And yes, and the getting help part, to speak to that for just a quick moment. As far as I know, well, 2014 versus 1999, the treatment's the same. The treatment hasn't been working for all these years. It's still losing all but maybe 10% of the patients when they come out. Yeah.
That's
The anorexia is the deadliest of mental illnesses. And I'm sure, that's only a matter of how it's reported statistically. Bulimics die. And it's a very stark reality. And the research isn't being done. There are so many hospital programs, but to my knowledge, the best they know how to do is lock you up, it's behavioral, force feed you, and make everything conditional, and then you leave and you lose all the weight again. That's the game. That's the game. Then you get scared out in the world and you go back in. Every 2 years, it's a revolving door. It's a waste of money.
There's a possibility, Tracy, the fact that you were brave enough and courageous enough to join us here today, you're going to save someone's life.
That's
and
right.
For a couple
God,
of
I hope
reasons,
so.
including that you're talking about that, the treatment is not there. Focus on this with so many other issues, depression, anxiety, and so many other things that just get so much attention and so much chatter.
Right.
This could really use a lot of assistance. It sounds like it needs to be dragged out of the dark ages and brought about in a national discussion where we can save lives of people who matter like you, because you do matter. And the fact that you came with us today, you're going to save lives. You really are. And we thank you for being here. Is it different to be on the set versus watching the series online?
It is very
You were
different. Thank you.
spectacular.
First of all, I am so honored to be here. And when I was watching your podcast, every single one of them inspired me so much. And my words were, my gosh, what have I done for anyone else my whole life except sit around and whine about, and
That's where I wanted to tell you. You said something before where people have led fascinating lives and they've been successful. You need to look in the mirror because you have done the same. What you have overcome took such strength and courage. And right now, like Bert said, you could be saving someone's life. So that's why you were spared and saved. we couldn't be more grateful for you. You've done
Yes.
a lot more
Thank you.
than sit around and whine, Tracy.
Thank you for what you've
inspired
done and
us.
for what you will do. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. And you will be an inspiration to someone
Yes.
who will be sitting in that chair very soon and said, Tracy Mahony is the reason that I'm here today. Tracy O
Well,
Mahony.
and if there's anybody who, wants to reach out to me, I was very good at researching. I was a great researcher. I'm going to find the best treatment center. I'm going to find them see how they'll get me in on charity care and whatnot. I was great at fighting for treatment, and then I'd sign out AMA. Oh, way to go. But, the
Baby
seeds were
steps.
planted. I'm here.
Yep.
I'm here to say, stand up. Love yourself. Nobody else can do that for you.
Exactly it. Tracy, thank you again for being here, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I'm Bert Barron,
And I'm Lisa Anderson.
and thank you for watching Be Inspired.
Next on Be Inspired.
When I cook, it's like I'm putting part of me into it. I wanted to be a professional baseball player because I was pretty good. And before you know it, I'm selling in the plant, I'm selling in hometown. I got a 3-year sentence. When I was out there in the street, I used to give them the wrong stuff, but now I'm feeding them. I'm helping them get nutrition in their body. That drive that I put into doing that madness, I put it into the food, and I just create stuff, and they love it. They love it.
Be Inspired with your hosts Bert Barron and Lisa Anderson Puleo. Director Rod Weber. Created and produced by Michael R. Doyle. Co-producers Lisa Anderson Puleo and Erwin Sternberg. Executive producers Sean Sternberg and Rod Weber. Editor Rebecca Gruber. Filmed at New Beginnings Foundation, Wall Township, New Jersey. And thanks to our sponsors, Loewy's Moving Service, IgA Nephropathy Foundation of America, Diane Turton Realtors, and Surreal Stream Services. We here at Be Inspired Podcast would like to dedicate Season 3 to all of those who lost their lives to COVID-19 and honor the first responders and healthcare professionals for their continued sacrifices every day. You all are our heroes. We are stronger together, and in times of adversity, we encourage you to lean on Be Inspired Podcast. Our prayers are with you all.